Hey family, welcome to the Love You More show. And do me a favor, hit that little notification bell, okay? Make sure that you click that on to make sure that you never miss an episode. And of course, make sure throughout the show you like, share, and you comment. I do hope you enjoy this show, and I'm looking forward to it. It's coming up next. Flat out.
Next on the Love You More show.
Yeah, 6 years ago, I lost my godmother 1 week, my mom the next, best friend 3 days after my mom, 1 hour after he helped me plan my mom's funeral, and 3 weeks after my mom, my sister. So 4 eulogies, 4 funerals planned, picked out 4 caskets in 28 days.
Like, how do you still remain faithful to a God that you don't necessarily understand his ways?
I didn't open the Bible for about 1.5 years. I didn't grow up in the church. I'm the only Christian in my home. I grew up Buddhist.
Right, my dad died of cancer. And I remember sitting in that hospital room and I researched and looked, what do you do? And I prayed all the prayers. I sang all the songs. I overgave. I had the whole army of people praying with us. And not only did my dad die, he died fast. He had the nerve to die fast.
What happens when prayer hurts?
Ooh. I didn't want to hear it.
Throw the bell at him. Just throw the whole bit.
Love you more.
Yo, it's your nephew, Willie Moore Jr., and welcome to the Love You More podcast, where we believe that a lot of you, and probably you, if you can be honest, sometimes life just sends you a whole lot of curveballs, right? Where you really don't necessarily take the time to love on yourself more. The Bible declares that we ought to love our neighbor, right, as we love ourselves, which is unfortunately, you can't love your neighbor because most of the time you're not taking the time to love you more. I remember when I had to walk through counseling because my best friend, in my opinion, was murdered, but it looked like a suicide, and then the girl disappeared. And I just remember being so freaking confused, but not necessarily having the right tools to deal with the grief. So just like every other hood guy in the neighborhood in Berkeley, Missouri, we go down to the altar. We see our friend in the casket. We come back outside. We might roll something up, have a drink, and we just keep on living. And after a while, we never really necessarily know the residual effects of grief because we never got an opportunity to deal with it properly. So today, I want to tell you, these 3 people have no idea why they're here. So while they were here in the green room, we had them separated, like they all had COVID. And it was like, you can't be around her and you can't be around him. And we just had everybody away because I wanted to have an organic moment. So today, all 3 of these guests have one thing in common. From a distance, they've handled grief correctly. They talked about it. They were vocal about it. They had friends around them. They got the support that they needed. And if I can be very honest with you, they forgave God for something that they didn't necessarily understand, or they're in the process of attempting to connect with a God who honestly disappointed them. And I know many of you all can feel the same. So today I just want to have a candid conversation on the Love You More podcast about grief. Indeed. So today we have CHONTA CLEMONS. She is here. An amazing artist, speaker, real estate agent, and more importantly, just a beautiful soul, right? The one and only DEWEY Smith. I call him DEWEY Smith, but to the rest of the world, he's probably one of the most prolific pastors of our time. And I don't say that misogynistically. I'm just blessed to have his phone number.
Play too much.
And I got my sister SOPHY, who's literally one of the most beautiful souls out, and just literally one of the people that I've watched from a distance after the death of her husband be so vulnerable about it and share her good days, her good moments, her good hours. And like, we would go from like, I'm like, oh, Sophie's doing good today. And then the next hour she'll be like in tears on Instagram, like, it was a good moment until. And so I brought you 3 together in hopes that we could have a great conversation. Because there's people on the other side of this camera that don't even necessarily know that they're dealing with grief. They're not as cool with their family members anymore because death brings a certain level of entitlement. People want stuff and I didn't get this, I didn't get that. So they don't want to like supply real vulnerability to their friends and family members. And so before we get started, you guys are going to watch this video. This is a scene from the Love You More series where I leave Jamal Bryant. I'm in counseling and he says, I need you to take me back to that funeral. You know how he talk? He kind of got a southern twang. That was my best Jamal Bryant, by the way. Let's get that out the way. You need to take me back to that funeral. And I was sitting there and I decided to go back. And this is my rendition of me going back to the funeral of Ben. Here's Save Room for Me.
Is there anybody out there ever lost a loved one like me? Oh God, is there anybody out there ever lost a friend like me? Oh God, is there anybody out there who needs to forgive God like me?
Let's keep it ready. Last question.
Is there anybody out there cried itself to sleep like me? Oh God,
That is Save Room for Me. That's the video that everybody watched last week. And I remember when I was putting that video together, you just so happened to be there. And I was calling around and I was like, I really wanna go back to that moment where I was in that church and this stuff had became a reality. And I know, I actually told Soph, I said, like I'll be honest with you, it does trigger certain emotions. When you lose, let's just kind of back up a little bit. I want to give the people on the other side of the camera kind of a preface of what your grief journey was for and who passed. So for you, CHONTA, who was that?
My dad, my father.
Indeed. And how long ago has it been?
10 years.
10 years. Indeed. Indeed. And you?
Yeah, 6 years ago, I lost my godmother 1 week, my mom the next, best friend 3 days after my mom,
Mercy.
1 hour after he helped me plan my mom's funeral, and 3 weeks after my mom, my sister. So 4 eulogies, 4 funerals planned, picked out 4 caskets in 28 days.
Mercy.
Indeed. And so
Mine was my husband a little over 2 years ago.
a little over 2 years ago. So on the other side of the camera, there are people right now, like I will say that you guys' faith has just been amazing. Like to watch it from a distance. The one thing we understand about life is that, death is the only thing that's really promised to us. However, how do you keep a relationship with a God that you may not necessarily understand his actions? Was there ever a point, it's a part in the song that I said, is there anybody out there who needs to forgive God like me? Because I remember that I would still go to church. I would pray kinda. I would try to worship. But if I can be honest, I kind of felt like God failed me on this one. I didn't necessarily understand. And I wasn't a saved guy at this particular time, but I wasn't strong enough to box with God, so I didn't denounce my Christianity or anything. But I just remember being in a very unique place. How did you stay faithful to God? Did you stay faithful to God? And do you still have an issue with some of his ways? Like, how do you still remain faithful to a God that you don't necessarily understand his ways?
I didn't open the Bible for about 1.5 years.
Wow.
After my husband passed. So, we done ministry. I didn't grow up in the church. I'm the only Christian in my home. I grew up Buddhist. So, but I accepted Christ in my 20s. So, through my faith walk, I'll just back up a little bit. Like for me, it took God to demonstrate his love. Like I didn't know the gospel before I accepted Christ. He showed himself in his dream. So I knew he was real. But through, my entire journey and walking through it, I've always held on to him. But when my husband died, I seriously was like, how much more suffering are you going to, what do you want from me to show you that I choose you? Like, how much more do you want me to show you? Yeah. Now you've taken my husband away. I know you weren't the reason for his death, but you allowed it. So I did not open the Bible for about a year and a half. I will pray. I will argue with him. I would, sit there and cry and weep. But it's like, it's like his home, right? Mm-hmm. You know that he's there kind of. Mm-hmm. And you're just having this moment in this season right now. So for me, it did take about a year and a half until I uttered those words. I forgive you, God.
So you did utter the word.
I did utter the words. I forgave my husband for dying. After 3 years, I had to forgive him too, because he served time. He served work release for three years before he came home. And then I had a good year with him and he died 8 minutes from home. So I had to forgive him too. I said, how dare you die? After I served you hands and knees and you in work release and I'm doing whatever I need to do. And then you come home and you die because you were, you were speeding and you had no seatbelt. How dare you? How dare you risk your life? So I had to forgive my husband and I forgive God.
Yeah. Wow. Talk to me, Chonta. Have we forgiven God? Is there something that you still have question marks or what have you? Like as it pertains to, like you heard what she said, like that was one of the most, let me just say number one, that was the realest. Like I think everybody in the room can agree. Like I had a damn in my spirit. I said, damn, did she like that was real?
I had to forgive a dead person. I had to go to his grave and say, I forgive you. I sat there and I said, I forgive you. Forgive you for dying on me.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me, Chonta. You know your dad, he's the Marine. Mm-hmm. He's your everything. He's the person who literally was at your beck and call for anything that you need. He's the person who chose to treat you like a princess. I've been privy to understand a little bit more about him, like, and just to the camera, maybe you share a little backstory of like how important he was. Like this man went to prison, if you don't mind me sharing. He went to prison. She becomes a Marine, and he writes her a letter every day of boot camp from prison and walked her through from a distance. So you can't tell me what a father won't do. Wow. When he's strategic, smart, and actually intentional with his child. You devout Christian. And I just be honest with you, now that we done dropped the fourth wall, this is a person who got me closer to God. Because I was a black and mild smoking, Budweiser drinking, Bible toting. You know how they do all that stuff. And didn't really understand God, but knew that I wanted him. And she was just able to say, you got him. And he loved you there. But just keep growing. A person who encourages you in the faith. And I just remember, like, when he passed, there was something in you that was just like, because you did all the things.
I did all the things.
Talk about it.
I did all the things. I basically became an external Christian. I believed in God for everybody else, but no longer for me. So I still went to church. I still opened the Bible. I still said the prayer, right? But it was all just doing what you should do in order. It was a chore. This is what you should do. And I would pray for other people because I see miracles and wonders for everybody else, but not for me. Because when I was going through it, right, my dad died of cancer. And I remember sitting in that hospital room and I researched and looked, what do you do? And I prayed all the prayers. I sang all the songs. I overgave. I had the whole army of people praying with us in agreement, all the things you should do. I showed up to that every night. Oh, and I spoke well. I did the right thing. This is what I thought was the right thing to do. And not only did my dad die, he died fast. He had damn nerve to God fast. I was like, wait a minute, hold on, God. You're not even gonna give me no extra time? Right. Like, what are we doing? I didn't understand that. So it started making me feel like God didn't hear me. He doesn't listen to me. And I would tell him that. I would say, he listens to you. He don't listen to me. So I'll pray for you. And you pray for me because he listened to you. Because I just felt like that. Like you don't hear me. And I think one of the bigger things was, my dad had read the Bible 3 times. Been a prison enough, Lord, I'm telling you. But he had read through it 3 times. He used to be like a choir boy and all these things when he was younger. But sometimes he would introduce me and he would say, oh, this is my angel. And he would tell me that God listens to you. So it was a pedestal that I didn't deserve, but it's one that he put me on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, okay, well, since God listened to me, I can petition.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, God, do this. Heal my dad, save my dad, do these things. And he just died on me, you know, and I was like, okay, so he doesn't listen at all. And so like you said, you had to forgive your husband. I had to forgive myself. I did not know that for the first, and it took 5 years. And I remember on the 5th year of his death anniversary, because you actually called me to check on me. And I was at the gravesite, and that was the first time I had been since they buried him.
Wow.
I couldn't bring myself to go.
Wow.
And it was the first time I had been, and I went there and I laid on that floor and I cried. And I was just like, I have to forgive myself. I finally realized that I had been holding myself responsible for his death. I had been holding myself responsible because I felt like, what did I do wrong? I must have committed some sin. I must have done something. There was something that I did, God, that made you not listen to me. And so you took him. Like, what did I do? And then I realized there's nothing I could do. It wasn't up to me. And after that 5th year, I still don't understand it. I'm still not running outside butt naked, doing jumping jacks in the street about it. But I do know that God is very real. Serve a very real God. You know, I've still seen miracles and wonders, and I started to look for them differently in my own life, you know. And I came back to him and I said, I still don't get it. And so now I hold more of an attitude is, I would tell people, I don't have an answer for you. I do not know why. That's God's job. It's above my pay grade. We have to let God be God. And that's literally like that. It might be the simplest form answer, but I just have to let God be God.
Wow.
You know, I think it's so beautiful that I hear an underlying thread of, bro, like I was pissed, like on the inside, like it was some anger there.
Big man.
Right. And so like just kind of looking at everybody across, you know, the country. And also listen, Tanaya, I know this is triggering. Tanaya is our new social media person or what have you. And you know, her dad passed while she was in high school. So I know this is very unique, you know. Middle school, yeah, when we was kids. Like, yeah, oh, y'all were my babies in the teacher. Yep, in middle school. And so I'm sorry, it didn't even think about it. But listen, even if you want to chime in, this ain't the podcast where it's just so polished that people don't have opinions and questions. So if you got something and you hear something like you would know, just chime in and make it work. I can't put the camera over there because my arms ain't big enough. But I hear an underlying thread of needing to forgive. Did you have to deal with anything because you literally still had to stand on the podium and preach to thousands of people? As you know, you got dang near 30,000 congregants across dang near locally, and Lord knows millions across the world as you travel and preach the gospel all across all the continents around the country. Like, what was that like for you?
You know, it's weird listening to the song and very powerful, heartfelt expressions. When I juxtapose that with 2 recent deaths, even in Atlanta, when Takeoff was murdered in Houston, and then DJ Youngfly a few weeks ago. Both of those funerals, at DJ Youngfly's baby's mother and at Takeoff's funeral, Offset said something, and DJ Youngfly said something that I want to talk about. It's very, very important. In both comments, Offset and Youngfly, DJ Youngfly said, God, I know I shouldn't question you. And we were all taught that. Many of us were taught that, that you should never question God. But I believe that's theological violence.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because,
That's good.
you know, we were taught that because we were taught how to reverence God.
Yeah.
But primarily our parents and Sunday school teachers saw God as a powerful force and not as a personal father.
Yeah.
They're looking at God more from the realm of relationship rather than religion.
Yeah.
When you read the book of Psalms, half the book is questions.
Yeah.
How long? Why? What thou?
Right.
When you can't go to God with authentic questions about your innermost pains, what kind of relationship is that?
Right.
And so what I appreciate is the conversations today about forgiving God, forgiving yourself, not opening your Bible, taking 5 years. The reality is even Jesus questioned God
Yeah.
while dying on the cross.
Yeah.
And if questioning God was a sin, that meant that Jesus would have been a sinner
Right.
Yeah.
and therefore unable to become our Savior and our Lord. So if you got a question, God is big enough to handle your questions. Immanuel Kant said, it's all right for a believer to question the nature of God. Just don't question the existence of God. And so for me, being a preacher, how do you stand when people expect you to preach and you got nothing to tell them? You know, and you got to preach about a God that you really got questions about. When the preacher, my whole ministry is hope. I'm a hope dealer. What happens when I can't get out of the bed and don't want to read the scripture or don't want to pray? People asking me, when you going to preach? Never really. When you going to preach? You know, You know, your mom is with the Lord. You should be happy. Well, I'm not concerned because of what she is.
Right.
Hell, I know what she is. It's what she ain't.
Right.
I'm not hurting because of what she is. I'm hurting because of what she's not. And so for me, I mean, just shutting things down. But But it gets difficult because you said earlier that I handle mine through faith. I always didn't. You know, Patron shots helped me more when passage of scripture wouldn't.
More Love You More podcast after this.
Hey, family, listen, did you know that there's a beautiful opportunity for you to partner with us? We have a community that we call the Love You More Produce. Wait a minute. Why I sound like one of them infomercials? Okay, let's just go and keep it real. I'm doing these interviews and I literally would love for you to be able to give questions, get your questions really answered at the time of the taping. And of course, you never know how many different insecurities I may be going through. So I share a lot in our community. It's called the Love You More community. It's actually Patreon for those of you who definitely understand. Every single month, so many partners, we get together and I do my best to just share my vulnerabilities and get some really great ideas from you. So here's the thing. I promise to add a lot of value to you, right? Just by being in our community, I believe that every single time I come in there, I'm gonna do my best to add some value. And guess what you're gonna do? Give some opinions and add some value back, okay? So if you wanna be a Love You More producer, partner with us right now. Just pause this episode, go to Love You More, go down there and just click it and become a partner. Can you do that? Yes, yes. Yes, thank you. Back to the Love You More show, flat out.
Love you more.
But it gets difficult because you said earlier that I handle mine through faith. I always didn't. You know, Patron shots helped me more when passage of scripture wouldn't.
Real.
Hold on 2 seconds. And on that note, and on that note, I just play. Yeah. And so what happens when the preacher needs that? Yeah. When prayer can't put you to sleep, so Patron. Yes, sir.
And so it took me a long time.
I love it.
Mother's Day. Even now, I don't feel.
I pray for you on Mother's Day.
Yeah, man. I still have messages now in my mom's phone, from my mother. When periodically I just want to hear her voice. And people say, well, you crazy? No. So it took me about 6 months before I had to go get therapy. I didn't handle mine well. Even as a preacher, faith in God, I was violent to myself, just trying to anesthetize that pain. And so I didn't handle mine well. And fortunately, my mom came back seemingly in a vision and said, look, as long as you got your purpose, you have life. And so now I realize that grief is the price we pay for love. And the biggest mistake I made was trying to get back into the pulpit to preach for people when I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's okay. It's okay. I don't have to fake it till I make it. No, I'm hurting. I've gone through trauma. You know, nobody would have wanted me preaching if I was in a severe accident.
Right.
And broke my arm or broke my back. People would have understood. But what about when your soul is traumatized? And so it was trauma. And I just think what we have tried to do for people is use faith as an excuse or demonize my own pain and my weakness. I'm a man who loves God. God, I love you, but right now I don't like you. And so it just took me time to process that. And I'm still processing. I'm getting better. I am, but I'm a human being. And I don't care what people think about I should be the strong, the man of faith. Forget all that. Don't tell me where my mother is again, because I might go taekwondo on a Negro. So just let me.
That is so real.
And nobody can tell you how long to grieve.
So
you know,
real.
and so however you have to grieve in your process, that's your process. And so, you know, I've never been a judgmental person. I always try to give people grace, but I can understand why people need cannabis or Hennessy, the white kind. To help them to deal with whatever they're dealing with.
Yeah, the white cat off the boat.
No comment.
You don't know nothing about it, but I do. Praise
be careful. Be careful. Be surprised. But the reality is pain is real, man.
Yes, sir.
And I think sometimes we either demonize or spiritualize the pain that we go through as believers. And sometimes you need something, whether it be distance, whether separation. What happens when prayer hurts?
Ooh. I didn't want to hear it.
Throw the bell at him. Just throw the whole bell.
Listen, I felt it in my spirit. That just hit me. So listen, okay. So Pastor, you clicked on something. You said you got back in that pulpit a little too quick. If you did it over, you would probably sit down a little bit more. Because we also know that we gotta. In my opinion, to stabilize and heal, you have to sit still. Like in my opinion. Ladies, was there anything that you got into a little too fast, and as you look back, you think to yourself, I shouldn't have, like, maybe I should have had a little bit more peace? Is there anything that you guys, as he says, I got back into the pulpit a little too quick because of the I guess it was like when pastor coming back. So was there something that you guys may think like, man, I should have just I got into this a little too quick?
Life. I got back into life too fast. Spiritual bypassing. I knew what to say. I knew how to say it. I knew how to look. I knew what to do. I knew all the things. I was astute enough to know what to say. I knew how to show up. I was on social media. I had a 2-year-old at the time, and we just trudging on along. Look at me. You know what I'm saying? I got back into life in general too soon. Not that I should have been dying, but I should have sat down. I'm at brunch. But I'm still answering the calls and the invitations and the things just so you can get this. She's so strong. She ain't. But I knew how to be that and didn't even know that it was pretending. Didn't even know. I just thought that that's what you do. We move forward. That's how you show strength, right? I'm a Marine again. Why you don't do all that crying and weeping and moaning and go up under the table? You have to keep moving. A part of that is true because you want to stay and be grateful for the land of the living, but I should have just sat down and processed. And I still haven't sat down. Because since then, I done had a divorce, lost a grandmama and everything else, and I still haven't sat down.
Sit down, sis.
And a mother.
Right. No, I do got to ask you this. So is it something that you feel like because you're fairly new to this? Do you feel like you pacing it correctly or?
I have a very strong support system. And because I've been through so much trauma in my life, I knew if I didn't get help, I went to therapy the first week. If I didn't get help, that cycle, right? That depression, that's attempted suicide, all the things that I've dealt with would just take me out, right? Because there were nights where I'm like, God, don't wake me up tomorrow. I just want to go. Please don't wake me up. Because when you deal with, when you experience grief, everything in your life is tied to grief, right? So for me, because of my strong support system and what I was doing and who I was working for at the time, of course, Jeremy came in and was like counseling. So I had friends, one of my great friends actually flew down from Maryland and stayed with me for 3 weeks in Huntsville, Alabama. And there were people that were feeding me. And there were people that were, you don't take showers. I mean, these are little things that people don't even, like there were folks that are like running my bath water, right? And reminding me to eat. So I did go to counseling once a week for a while. And when she told me there's 2 types of grief, there's complicated grief and uncomplicated grief, which one do you want? And I was like, I don't want uncomplicated grief because there are people in my support group, even now, 5-6 years later, who is still in the state of, I want to die. I don't want to, like, I'm like, okay, God, this is, I don't want to wake up in the morning, but in me, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to go yet, so I didn't want to be in that state of depression. I wanted really to get help. So I read a lot. So I'm ordering books. I'm online, YouTubing, like young widows who had lost their spouse suddenly because he died in a car accident 8 minutes from home. So I was very even specific in that moment to like find things that relate to me per se, because the death of a mother or a father or sibling, they say is different, right? David Kessler, who is a renowned grief therapist, 30-something years, a therapist for like presidents and world leaders and all of that. He said in his 30 years, he has not found one grief that is the same. Not one in his 30 years of all his work. not one grief is the same. So I was very intentional about reading and about learning about grief and going to my therapy session and really allowing the support system to do for me.
That's all.
You know, because people don't understand like what, I mean, me losing a spouse, I've lost my dreams, I lost my income. You know what I mean? I lost my whole family. There's secondary loss to your people. You know what I mean? So now I didn't have life insurance. Get life insurance, people. I didn't have life insurance. My husband didn't have life insurance. And I was working for, you know, ETA, Dr. Eric Thomas at the time. So thank God I was able to take 3 months off, you know, and to really sit down and take the work. Now I have biological family, but they're not Christians. Gotcha. I'm the one to do everything, right? I'm the dependable, reliable one. So what do you do now? Because they're still, you know, they calling me still. You know what I mean?
We know you went through, but
right.
Can you come over here to Boston and pick up my
right? So it's like, because the way they handle death is different. It's a whole celebration, right? They don't talk about it. They don't grieve about it. They do this 100-day, 3-day thing, and nobody really talks about it. You don't see anybody cry. You know, and for me, because of my relationship with Christ, and even at that time, I knew, like, listen, P, just let it go, cry, weep, whatever, be angry with God. I just let myself go. And my support system, who are all Christians, right, really surrounded me with that, and just really let me be and really let me go through what I needed to go through. And I still am in therapy now, 2.5 years later. But I am a lot, and I am, you know, in different social groups, or preferably for me, young widows who lost their husband, right? That fairly had a healthy marriage, because grief is different, right? You have folks that have lost their husband who beat them. They feel good about it overall.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so we have different.
Somebody in there like, well, you know, it hurt, but
right. Or you have a spouse that is they've been a caretaker for their husband, and it's kind of like they knew it was coming. So they've been dealing with this thing called anticipatory grief all these times, right? So now it's kind of like, I'm grieving, but it's almost like a relief for them. I don't share that. My husband died instantly. And I literally put my 2 months notice in because he wanted to honor me for what I've, you know, for being there for him in those 3 years.
Wow.
And he was like, honey, take a year off. You don't have to do work. You ain't got to do nothing, because he was doing well. From the day he started a job from work release and just really just blew as the top sales, right? Wow. So he was like, do whatever you need to do. You don't even have to work for the company, our company, because we were building the company. You don't have to work for anybody. You just do what you need to do. You don't got to do nothing you don't have to for a whole year. I put my work 2 months notice in. And then 2 weeks later, and we were closing on a house 2 weeks later, he never made it home.
Oh my God.
So it was like, I needed the help, because my history and my background with mental illness and depression and anxiety, I knew that if I didn't get the help and didn't listen to my support system, I would probably commit suicide, because I attempted 3 times in my past.
Wow.
That's good.
Oh yeah. I mean, I talk about it, but I knew. I just knew if I don't get the help, I would literally probably just kill myself.
Sitting here just hearing the word support system, you know, I can remember in the neighborhood, like, you get a strong 2 weeks. Everybody calling, everybody cooking, everybody at the house. And the truth is, them first 2 weeks, I was just the type of person that didn't necessarily want nobody that much around, because I was trying to process just too much. It was too much Popeyes, too much churches, too much, you want something to drink. It was too much Hennessy. You know, I'm from the neighborhood. It was what it was. But it felt like after about 2-3 weeks, it's like the phone stopped ringing.
Oh.
And nobody, it was like, it's like I was left with my own, you know, understanding. But then you have some people who, you know, they show support differently. Like, could somebody really talk about what the support look like for you? Like, what would have wanted to have? What worked good? Because there's somebody on the other side who's attempting to support. Like, some spouses, they really feel like, you know, how did you, like, your wife, like, well, I cooked them dinner and I did this, but you talked all day and I didn't want to talk. Like, is there a correct way to support a person who's dealing with severe grief?
I mean, well, the truth is, you talk about 2-3 weeks, and that's so true. But the truth is, the moment we leave the cemetery, 30 minutes later, we eat potato salad. Back at the church. for the repast.
Mm-hmm.
And we laughing, telling jokes.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about it, and as a pastor, you die, they put a black cover on your chair for 30 days and they form a pulpit committee. And they find the next preacher. So it goes on. So
I just experienced that.
Oh, okay.
I had never seen that. They were having a board meeting before he made it to the grave.
No question.
And I looked at them and I said, I will not give myself that way if that's what y'all do when somebody die.
I mean, Bishop James Morton just passed here a few months ago. Before his funeral, their resume sent to the church. Before he was cold, people sending resumes, pastors sending resumes. If you need a pastor, call me. So when you talk about just the insensitivity and the coldness and the lack of support, and for me, my wife is one who would do everything in terms of planning.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to get all the photographs. She's going to write the obituary. She's going to call everybody. She's going to make sure the programs are printed. She's going to make sure the pallbearers, everything is nice and everything is beautiful. We'll work tirelessly to make sure the food, everything is prepared. Just a real rider. Do everything, work her finger to the bone to make sure everything is appropriate. And while those things are necessary and appreciated and much needed, it's and support, but it's still for my heart, for my emotions. I'm grateful for the obituary. I'm grateful for the program. I'm grateful for the order. But what about me as a man? You know, I'm grateful for the program. You know, and I know God wipes my tears in the midnight hour. But what else can you do in the midnight hour? You know, thank God for the cemetery. But what can you do? You know, I mean, how do you up your game? You know, what is my love language at that time?
Exactly.
I don't know. You know, can you be a program and a gymnast?
Come on.
At the same time. And what
Yeah.
what else
Can you be the lady at the church and the freak in the bed sometimes? Come on.
Be careful. Be careful.
That's what he said.
Yeah,
Pretty.
I mean,
that's for my
yeah,
neighborhood people
yeah.
that catch it.
Yeah.
You don't know what a gymnast is.
Yeah. Be a shoe model. Be a shoe model.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, I got too high.
Yeah. I mean, so
my bad.
it's
Sorry
like,
about that.
yeah, as a man, you know, and me not knowing how to articulate that. So it's like,
so articulating.
yeah,
is
how
so
do I
important.
how do I articulate what I really need? I mean, how do you make me feel? How do you help me in my pain? And I don't want to sound insensitive. I hope I don't.
No, you're good.
But it's
Totally
like
understand.
because I'm grateful. But it's like, what extra can you do? I mean, what make me forget about it?
More Love You More podcast after this.
Woo, y'all loving this show? Me too. You know the only thing is missing? Your questions. You didn't get an opportunity to ask the question. You know how you sitting there saying, oh, I wish he had asked her this, or oh, I wish he would have asked that. Only thing missing is you. All you have to do is become a partner. And in our next taping and going into it, guess what you'll get a chance to do? Ask questions with our guests. And of course, being in the back end of our community, which is called the Love You More community, you get an opportunity to hang out with me. Every single day, I do my best to just add a post in there to remind you of your greatness and also share a whole lot of vulnerabilities. Listen, I know, come on, I'm adorable, but I got a lot of stuff going on the inside. And I would love for you to partner with us to help me with it because we're going somewhere. And I don't want you to miss the opportunity to go with us.
Love you more.
What extra can you do? I mean, what make me forget about it? You know, put me to sleep.
How long does
You know
that
what I
go
mean?
on? Like, because I think sometimes it's like a hit or miss. So I know for me, especially when you're used to positive reinforcement, when you're doing the right thing, it's like, it's almost like, you know, and not to make this on that, but like if you're making love and you kiss somewhere and you hear something go, you know, you need to go back to that spot.
Right.
But sometimes when you're doing the right thing, it's not really necessarily celebrated. So you're just kind of fishing.
Yeah.
So you like, well, you know, I brought him food. You don't know, especially if you've never really been through it. And or you realize that you guys don't want the same thing or be comforted by the same thing.
Yeah.
Like the weirdest thing in the world that I've ever experienced as it pertains to grief is when I told somebody, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I will sit in this thing with you until we figure it out together.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know what God's saying. I don't know. But I know I'm not going to leave your side.
I remember one day we had breakfast and my boys were like, because they didn't know me. My sons didn't know me. I'm always the jovial one.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked their mother to fix breakfast and she fixed breakfast. And my oldest, like, he was 14 or 15 at the time. He said, man, what's up? I mean, it's been about 2 or 3 months. What's up, man? I mean, he's very non-vocal, you know, and very quiet. Man, what's going on, Dad? I mean, I don't like this. What's happening? So I said, son, was like this. You know, if your mom left, I can get another wife. Something happened to you guys. I'm still young enough. Everything still works. I can get some more kids. So your mama can be replaced and so can you. Like, what you mean, Dad? I was like, well, I don't have one mom.
That's it. That's it.
For as long as I live, I don't get but one mom. And they were looking at me like, this dude has lost his everlasting mind. But I was just trying to explain it. Of course, his mom got quiet for the next 20 minutes, but I was just trying to explain it the best way I could to understand. I mean, I came from this womb. If nothing else ever happened in life, if everybody walked away, if I lost everything, the church, the ministry, my family, I could always go home. The key to my mom's house always worked. From the time I left, I could always go home. Now, for the first time in my life, there's no home.
Mm-hmm.
So the protection and the comfort, I don't know if something happened, where do I go?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a fear. I was just trying to explain it. And it took me actually last year was the first time I ever rode by her street.
Really?
Since I packed her home.
And how long was what's that?
6 years. I couldn't ride by a house. I would go the opposite way. When I saw the street, I get triggered, traumatized.
Mm-hmm.
So I lost home. Her womb incubated me for 9 months.
Yeah.
And sustained me for my whole life. And now the place where I always could revert back to.
It's gone.
No matter what I did, my ministry did, no matter what anybody said, my mom was going to always love me. I was a mama's boy from the time I was born, and from the grave, I'm still a mama's boy. So that level of pain, and then on top of that, my sister 3 weeks later, and then my brother had a stroke 4 days after my sister, and the doctor said nothing's wrong with him except something called broken heart syndrome. I'd never heard of broken heart syndrome.
It's real.
It's real.
My therapist told me about that.
And
it's
so
real.
I had no place to go. So for the first time, I felt homeless.
Yes.
Like a motherless child.
So when you feel homeless like that, and this is a good place, what behaviors did you pick up during that time that you kind of look back on? You know, we kind of discussed, the Silver Patron was what it was, but when you look back, like what were some of the things? And I just want us to have a real candid conversation, because on the other side of that camera, there is somebody doing a whole lot that's literally destroying themselves, and they just can't get out the mud. Yeah. So if you want to be specific, you can be specific, but I want to know, like, how did we get this person?
Let me say this. That's one of the reasons why I had to get back to preaching so quickly. Because in church, you lift your hands, people respected you enough to stand. You delivered a message, people say, oh, that blessed me. That blessed my life. Man, you helped me. So it was feeding.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not the ego, but just giving me a sense of purpose and belonging.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people, man, you blessed my life. So it gave me the courage to get up. When you get home, just take the trash out. The bills got to be paid. Go get the groceries out of the refrigerator. So like, wait a minute, so you revert to that which feeds you.
Yeah.
Whether it's the applause of the people, that's a sign. That's a sign of dysfunction individually, because my happiness should come from within. Mm-hmm. Or if it's people also seeing the vulnerability.
Oh yeah, because they definitely on you when you want them.
And people reading the vulnerability, and you enjoying that.
Yeah, not sure.
Enjoying a little too much.
Indeed. No, I get it.
Yeah.
The one thing that I'm hearing, if I can just kind of unpack it, is that when you're in a vulnerable space, how do you think you should handle vulnerability? Because I will say, I contacted you to be on this particular podcast, but you have an army of people who, like, we protect her, we do whatever it is or what have you.
Wow.
But how do you protect yourself from, okay, just full transparency through this divorce process. 2 years, I think I drank. How many days in a year?
365.
I probably got at least 363. I promise time too. And not that I was getting drunk because I was keeping the scriptorial. You feel me? But I know that I was engaging in something, and I was like, what the hell am I doing? I didn't want to show my face. They like, just get on camera. I was like, I don't like the way I look. I don't, it don't go in my vision. And so, there were some things that I still pull myself out of certain things. But what were some of the things, specifically to you, Chonta? I know you became like a workout person because, I've been able to track your journey. But what were some of the things that you picked up along the way that you like, man, like I would have done things different?
What would I have done different?
Or was there anything that you picked up was like,
I think you do a bit of self-sabotage for me. Like, you know right from wrong, and you choose wrong, and you chose wrong. I shouldn't have did that. But there's something in you that everything changes. Like Sophie said, like everything changes. It's all
connected to your grief.
Everything's connected. And so you can never go back to who you once were. You are now a new thing. You really are a new creature. And it's like the 3 words that I learned over this whole thing was that one thing about life is it, period, goes, period, on, period.
Lord have mercy.
And that's it.
Have mercy.
It just goes on. And so you just make these decisions. It wasn't particular decisions, just decisions that I should have did that differently. I should have told that person this. I should have went this way. But I didn't. And a lot of times it really is just self-sabotage. Now, you said something. I got to go there because you said you go towards what feeds you. I know that much too well. You're going to go toward what feeds you. What is giving you something because you feel empty. You feel really, really empty. And it's like, okay, and people can spiritual bypass and over and this with God and all that's true. But you forgot me and God ain't kicking it like that.
Absolutely.
So at the time, it's like, I have an empty cup. Who's pouring in it?
Right.
And wherever the pour is coming from, that's where the attention's going.
Lord have mercy.
Because I need this because this is gonna empty out, and when it dry up, then I'm gonna be in the tombstone right next to him.
Lord have mercy.
Right? So I need to be filled up. So it's just behaviors that just weren't things that I knew I could have did better, but I'm not looking at it from that eye. You just really selfish decisions is what I say. I made a lot of selfish decisions because it was self-preservation. I needed to preserve me. And as bad as that sounds, but those were some of the decisions that I made. I was not thinking about all them folks in that house and all of that stuff. How can I get up tomorrow?
Indeed.
Who do I need to talk to? What do I need to hear?
Yeah.
Have mercy.
Yeah.
I drank too.
You did?
Oh, and all that. I just thought that was a given.
Griffin.
I'm not a big drinker.
They said
so
Griffin
we
drank
all-
go with the same.
Take this cup. Cheers.
I was on that day. I was on that day.
If I knew, I didn't bring that other stuff because Pastor was here. I was like, we cool. We just ain't never went out.
We're being real, right?
Right.
But my mother-in-law, she, my husband's mom, she's, she has lupus and all this other health stuff. I call her the pharmacy because you don't sleep, right? Because I got shingles from it, from stress. And that was, was just, but because I didn't sleep. Like I was crying over that and crying because I wasn't sleeping. I was like, Mom, I don't know. I mean, I'm drinking my little Jack honey. I'm not a big drinker, but it was something to like, but
that's good too.
It's good too.
No, it is. The double shot ain't but 297 is what they say. I don't know though.
Be careful.
But
325 with
she
that.
gave me some oxys.
Yeah.
She gave me some oxys. And I never took it before. And because I don't have an addictive personality, I'm always so aware. It's like the way my brain works. But I would say, Mom, I need it every 3 days because I would sleep and then 3 days I wouldn't. And then I would take it again and I would sleep in 3 days. I think I did it for like 2-3 months. And then something in me was like, I can't keep doing this.
Wow.
I can't keep doing this. So I take melatonin, which really doesn't help, but then like CBD and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's those things. But for me, I think I had to tell people that really relied on me and even my friends, right? Even like after a few weeks or after a few months that after he died, I said, hey, I'm going to be a bad friend in this season. I can't be there for you. You know,
Yeah, pause right there.
I'm going to
good.
be a bad friend in
I
this
like that.
season.
Wow.
I cannot be there for you because for me, I just didn't want to go back to that where I was so suicidal, you know,
Wow.
so dark. And that girl I just didn't want it. So I really did sit my friends down. It's like, I'm going to be a bad friend. I can't be there for you in this season.
Mm.
Don't expect nothing from me. I said, I lost my husband and I'm going through it.
That's real. And that was
Wow.
brave. So you know me, I put a lot of comedy and fun up, but I do hear from Holy Spirit. So, you know, we are a little bit more seasoned, okay?
Mhm.
You know, all of us are over the age of 25, right? Let's just go ahead and put that out there. But I just want to ask, you don't have to get on camera. Tonight, did you hear anything like as a child, like as you know, you still my baby, you grown now, but as a child, is there anything that I can maybe tell the people, like how do we respond to children when they lose, because you think you're gonna bury you know, like you think you're gonna bury your parent way down the road, and then in middle school this happens. Like how does it, is there something you can add, or was it something spoken that made you get a light? Because this is still fairly new for you too.
I know one thing y'all said about like therapy and everything. I can remember my mom instantly putting me in therapy. She never gave me time to breathe and to like deal with it and cope with it. And now that I'm 23, I still haven't really dealt with it, coped with it. And like hearing y'all talk about how y'all dealt with it, like that's literally what I'm still going through.
Wow.
And then to hear that you said you only get one mom, I only got one dad. So it's just a lot. I'm sorry, I'm lost for words because y'all are saying how I felt for a very long time right now.
Wow.
And it's just a lot right now. But I hear everything and I feel everything. And I'm trying not to cry and break down while talking, but
We get it. We appreciate you.
Wow.
I get it.
We appreciate you.
Thank
We
you.
love
And
you.
I'm glad you're in the room. It's so amazing. Like when you following God and still having fun and doing all that other stuff is so amazing. You guys weren't here on the last shoot, but every scenario that God has kind of gave us to create, like there's always been a case in the room.
Wow.
And so I know that there's a case on the other side of the camera because we prayed for you. We believe God's best for you. And my prayer is that you smiled, that you laughed, but you were informed. You're looking at people who have literally bared it all. And what we call in Hollywood, we dropped the fourth wall. And here's the thing. The way they did that in confidence, you too have the right to be just as brave. 2 ways to learn information, mentors or mistakes. My prayer is that today you were mentored by people who haven't overcame. They're still overcoming. There's a perpetual cycle of grief and it continues. We all have to go down that road. My prayer is that you know that you're not alone. And maybe you heard something that can help you throughout this journey of grief. Thank you for tuning in to the Love You More podcast. Do me a favor, if you don't mind, subscribe, okay? Subscribe real quick. Just push that little subscribe button. And then last but not least, become a part of our community. What we're going to do with the Love You More series is we're going to travel the country. And of course, it's going to be a journal. It might be already out. Go to the website, pick that up. But be a part of the community to hear like all the behind the scenes stuff. What I see in my heart and my head is literally we're gonna like sell out the Fox Theater because of course you love all the music in the series. You'll get a chance to see all those people, and you'll get a chance to meet some of the people who are on the podcast. And we just might, if you don't mind, we may do it live at the Fox or something near you. My prayer is that we touch real subjects, that we take a real raw approach towards it, and just keep it real because we're going through real situations. And although, you know, we love Jesus with all of our heart, sometimes we trust him when we can't trace him. And sometimes we don't trust like we're supposed to. But he understands it. Just keep moving in the right direction. I love you. Love you more. Love you more. Not them more. You more. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. CHONTA, Pastor E. DEWEY Smith, SOPHY.
Thank you.
Y'all make some noise for him in here. Ooh, hate to stop you, change the scenery and the energy, but you ain't been obedient. You know how I know? Because you ain't subscribed. You ain't left no comment. You ain't shared this with nobody. Do it right now. Now back to the show. Now. Do it. Good. Back to the show. Flat out. And it is a wrap. Thank you for watching the Love You More show. I'm so humbled by it. Do me a favor, hit that little notification bell so you can be informed whenever we do some updates right here on this show. Hit subscribe, leave a comment. I'm going to read every single comment, good or bad, right? Because I believe a good conversation is necessary in order for us to move forward. Thank you for watching the Love You More show. Hey, Stone, come on in. Tell him thank you. Tell him thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, he don't even know what he's thank you for, but thank you for watching the show. Flat out.
Love you more, love you more, love you more.